Dollar cost averaging is probably one of the most poorly understood, but at the very same time, one of the very best strategies in the investing world, especially for beginner investors. It can significantly reduce stress, which, other than the main benefit of reducing stress, is that it also reduces the chance that you do something really stupid, like selling after a drop or feeling the need to wait for the next dip. Dollar cost averaging has also shown to outperform any other investing strategy outside of lump summing. I'll clarify lump summing later on, so don't worry. So what is dollar cost averaging? Well, for non-US viewers, you can ignore the word dollar. You can simply replace the word with pound, sterling, euro, yen, Bitcoin. You choose. The term was coined by a US investor, so it stuck. Personally, the term pound cost averaging just sounds uncomfortable and clunky to me. The strategy is really simple. It's simply investing the same amount of money over the same time intervals. The amount of money and the time interval can vary, but most importantly, it doesn't care about what the share price is, what it has been, or what it might do next. I personally think of it as some kind of meditating style investing method. You're calm, you're collected, and have a strong conviction that the stock market's going to do its thing, but in the end, you're going to be okay. Dollar cost averaging could be literally investing £5 a day, £35 a week, or £150 a month. It's the amount and the regular time interval that's important. That's what dollar cost averaging is, nothing else. What you're buying doesn't matter. You could dollar cost average an ETF, Bitcoin, stamps if you're a stamp collector, houses, anything really. What dollar cost averaging isn't is varying the amount of money that you put into the market or regularly putting money into the market at random different times, I guess. This could look like not investing into the market as you think that the market's too high, or sitting there waiting for the next dip. The problems with the concept of waiting for the next dip or the market is too high is that waiting for the next dip might be waiting for a train that never arrives. You'll be sat there forever, and equally saying that the market is too high isn't possible to say unless you've got the historical data to compare it against. I hope you can see from these examples that dollar cost averaging means that investing is a lot less stressful, as it takes a little or actually no thought process. All you have to do is choose what you're investing into, how much you're putting in there, and how regularly you're doing it. But you might be sat there thinking, Nick, it's great not being as stressed, but I'm here to make money. Please tell me you can help me make money. It definitely can, don't worry. What if I told you, by using this method, you would actually buy below the average price of the market? Hang on, does that even make sense? How can you buy for under the average buy price when you're constantly buying shares? Surely your share price will be the average? It's counterintuitive, but the answer is no, and it's all driven by the fact that you're putting the same amount of money into the market each time. Let me give you an example as it become a lot clearer. It's more noticeable when the share price is more volatile, so it is a bit extreme in this example, but go with it. So let's imagine we're investing into a stock which rockets between £50 and £1,000 over a year. You're a high roller, so you've got £1,000 to invest in the market each month. Let me give the example on the screen now. As you can see, the stock has been wildly up and down between a low £50 all the way up to £1,000. If we add up the price of each month and divide by 12, we get an average price of £454.16. This reflects the average price for the entire year for the shares. But if we look at how many shares you would have bought throughout that period, it comes to just under 57 shares. If we divide the amount we've invested, so in this case we've invested £12,000, by the amount of shares that we've bought, this gives us an average buy price of only £210.83. So the average price during this period was over double what we bought. So we bought for £210, but the average was £454. The simple reason is that you're buying more shares when the price is lower and less shares when the price is higher. And what do you have to do to get such a good result? You don't really have to do anything. You have to set up a direct debit that goes out at the same time every week or month or day, and it's as simple as that. This is just a made up example, but let's look at some research done by some people who are far smarter than me. I found a great article on the website of Dollar and Data with a post title of "Even God Couldn't Beat Dollar Cost Averaging." It's a great title, and I might be stealing it from the next talk about dollar cost averaging. The author, who is also called Nick just to be confusing, looked at two strategies. The first was dollar cost averaging monthly with $100, and the second was what he called God mode. This is when the person had the foresight to buy at the lowest point between two all-time highs, so basically buying the dip. The only rule was that both strategies couldn't buy and then sell Once they'd bought, they had to hold it. So surely God mode would win every single time, right? You could save £100 every single month and buy the perfect bottom. Well, let's see how it pans out. The research uncovered something really interesting. It found that only during periods of significant volatility did God mode outperform. So we're looking at brief periods in the 1930s, 1970s and 2000s. So 3 periods over 100 years. When he reran the test consistently between the 1920s and the 1980s, he found that dollar cost averaging beat God mode 70% of the time. Insane considering God mode is literally doing the impossible. It's probably not that surprising that when we compare God mode and dollar cost averaging over a 40-year period between 1975 and 2015, that dollar cost averaging beat God mode hands down by a massive 20% in fact. That's a huge difference. But why does dollar cost averaging outperform so often? Does it really make sense? Surely if you buy lower, then you'll get higher returns. How could it be any different? Well, the longer your money is sat out of the market, the more it loses its purchasing power due to inflation. On top of this, you're missing out on sweet, sweet dividends. One logical question you might have is, well, what happens if I get a pay rise at work? Would investing more mean that I'm not dollar cost averaging? After all, inflation is a thing, so if we don't invest that extra money, are we buying less and less technically? Yeah, it's a reasonable question. With dollar cost averaging, the concept is putting the same amount of money at regular intervals into the market. But if we're being technical, we're putting the same value into the market over a similarly spaced out period of time. So your payments should increase with inflation, which hopefully your income is doing the same every year. So let's not get too technical, but basically your direct debit should increase by roughly 2.5% a year. As realistically, share prices should at least move 2.5% a year due to inflation also. The most underestimated aspect of dollar cost averaging, in my opinion, is reduced stress. Imagine trying to judge when it is a good time to buy, to only find out that 2 months later the market's had another downturn. There'll be massive temptation to jump out of the market and then actually when's it best to jump back in. What a mess, and just so it rhymes, what a load of stress. I love the fact that someone can look me in the eye and tell me that they are convinced the market is overvalued, and I can respond by saying, buying shares in the market is overvalued is part of my plan. They'll look back at me bluntly thinking, you're absolutely clueless. But actually there's a really good chance that I'm beating the returns that they're getting. Who's the fool now? One statement you might have seen is that lump sum investing beats dollar cost averaging. So why do I choose dollar cost averaging over lump sum investing? Well, I do both, which might sound a little bit odd, but let me explain. When comparisons are drawn between dollar cost averaging and lump sum investing, they're actually making the assumption that you're sat on a load of money. So let's say you've got £12,000. You can either put the full £12,000 straight away into the market, or you could spread it out across the year in a dollar cost averaging style, just like we talked about then. All the research shows that lump sum investing gets a higher return 2/3 of the time, which does make sense. As the longer your money is out of the market, the more time its value is decreasing due to inflation, but also it's not in the market compounding by getting dividends and the growth. The only time lump sum investing underperforms is when you happen to have picked a time when the market declines in that year, so it doesn't happen often. Normally, dollar cost averaging strategy aligns with your payment schedule from work or your type of income, I guess. So if you're paid weekly, you invest weekly. If you're paid monthly, then you invest monthly. This way, you're dollar cost averaging as you're regularly putting money into the market, but you're also technically lump summing, as soon as you've got the capital, you're putting it into the market straight away. So both boxes are ticked. If you've made it this far into the video, then a massive thank you from me. I do need to give you clarity though, I am not a financial advisor, so if you want advice tailored to your specific needs, then please seek out someone who's qualified to do so. So this has been my video on dollar cost averaging. I hope you've learnt something and it's filled in some blanks or questions that you might have had. So if you still do have further questions or comments, then feel free to let me know in the comments section, because I do try and get back to you if possible. I do other videos on this channel around investing, finance and income growth. These include updates on my portfolios which I invest into, so my main one's on Vanguard. I have a few other investments, but I also have a crypto portfolio as well, so feel free to check them out. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.